Today's episode of West Virginia Uncommonplace is a versus battle that has myself, Just Red, Rudy, and Del P. And we're talking about the highs and lows of Fat Joe and Ja Rule. And before we get started, to keep the lights on and keep everything on, I'm going to let my sponsor roll through real fast. And then after that, I hope you guys enjoy this episode. Real quick, we're going to take a pause in this episode because it's a fairly decently long episode. So we're going to let the sponsor roll through real fast. Once again, thank you guys for listening to West Virginia Uncommonplace. Welcome to West Virginia Uncommonplace /
For the love of music, man.
Okay,
today for the love of music joining you tonight.
All right, for the love of music joining me tonight, can everybody introduce themselves?
Well, I'm your boy Just Red from Duval County 904 representative, man. Also from Code Red podcast, but most importantly from For the Love of Music.
Oh, my bad. I was waiting for Rudy. Y'all looking at me, I say, okay. It's the one and only LP, man, representing Houston, Texas, out in Duval, bitch. On top of that, another part of For the Love of Music, man.
For the love of music, my name is Rudy Mitch. I live in Richmond, Virginia, but I represent the BX, New York, all day, every day. And we're just here for the love of music.
All right,
I am not a podcaster. I'm just here giving support. I am not a podcaster.
Okay, so we got a tough topic here. This is Ja Rule versus Fat Joe. And my reason for this is a tough topic is because you have two of the most featured artists together. They kind of parallel each other. My take is this: in this battle, it's going to be a wit of who had the best features on someone else's track, and then who was featured the best on their track. So, what's y'all's take on this?
I mean, my thought process initially when you talk hit for hit, because that's what these versus battles are. It's supposed to be, or that's where they begin. They begin going hit for hit. You had your songwriters going hit for hit. You had your producers going hit for hit. Then your artists begin that way. But then it became, hey, I truly want to put on my favorite song that I've done that I don't get the credit for. But when you go put this hit for hit, my initial thought was Ja Rule will wash Fat Joe. But then when you go dig into it and you dive into it, Ja Rule, he's got your melody tracks. He's got your feature tracks. He's got your songs that the ladies are going to vibe to, that the ladies are going to love, that the ladies are just going to get into. But then Joe can match that. But then Joe can also get grimy and gully with you. Ja Rule can't touch that.
Just to jump on that real quick, and it also depends on crowd participation is going to be key for this. If you look at the Lox versus Dipset, the crowd, like Just Red said, they were grimy with it. You know, it turned to a grime fest, and once the Lox got grimy, they had no retort. It was over.
Let me stop you right there. It's not once they got grimy. Them motherfuckers were grimy from the
they started from the start. Yeah,
from the jump.
We didn't even think it was gonna go like 2 rounds. It was like they're gonna start fighting before this whole thing goes. But it's one of those things where street anthems, you go with Fat Joe. But like you said, if it's hit for hit, and if you think everything that's gonna be played in the club to get chicks shaking their ass in the club, of course Ja Rule's probably gonna have it. So I really don't like the battle per se because to me it's not a good match. Most of the verses before, except for as Del P said earlier with Soulja Boy and Bow Wow, most of the other verses they were decent matchups. You know, there were matchups that you really wanted to see. It was like, you know, when you, like everybody goes and digs into the catalog, and then oh well, he might just have it, might hear, might. But this one to me is like. It doesn't really have a nice match to it to present to a crowd.
It don't make sense. It just don't make sense. Like, for instance, I think the last great one they had, honestly, was the Ozzy's and Earth, Wind and Fire. After that, they've all been trash to me. I haven't enjoyed none of them after that. I didn't like the Monica and Brandy one because I feel like that you keep putting these artists together that really don't fuck with each other, so you're not gonna get what you deserve. It's a concert. That's why the Bow Wow and Soulja Boy thing birthed out, because they're actually friends. They actually fuck with each other. So the talking shit and whatever, and you got to give credit to Soulja Boy. The nigga played the same song like 5 times. Smartest shit ever. Because you run your streams up. That was smart. But like I said, none of them be consensed. I didn't even like the what is it? Was it Total and then SWV? Or was it Escape?
Escape. It was Escape and SWV.
Right.
Was it? It wasn't. No, I don't know. They can do better than what they're doing, but a lot of these artists don't want to do it either.
Yeah, because they realize that, you know, it does them no benefit. It's no purpose behind it for them. But I mean, to the matter at hand, Ja Rule versus Fat Joe.
Okay, so look, we got to dig into this catalog. Which one of y'all want to start with first, Fat Joe or Ja Rule? I figured we should do Ja Rule's because it's a little shorter.
I don't think it's shorter. Catalog is short. I just think after a while you're gonna mellow me, like you're gonna fucking collab me to death, basically.
Yeah, he's gonna lullaby you. I mean, at the end of the day, that's exactly what's gonna happen. He's gonna lullaby you. I won't say that his catalog is short. It's not shorter. It just doesn't stand up. But then again, I will say that it is shorter in a sense because of the simple fact Fat Joe's still putting shit out current day.
And
Fat Joe's first album dropped in '93. He had a 6-year lead on Ja Rule.
And he was digging in the crates in '92.
Exactly.
But here's the thing with that. You got to remember, when him and Khaled hooked up, I'm talking about when Khaled came out, like when Khaled started doing this shit.
Yeah.
Fat Joe was on damn near every album.
Every album.
True.
Because of the simple fact that who really put Khaled out there in mainstream like that?
You got to remember the song "We Taking Over."
Yeah. But the thing is about Fat Joe, and you know, Fat Joe falls in the line of some certain people that we won't speak about. Fat Joe's rhyme book could have been from somebody else also.
It was.
I don't know. Those are Fat Joe rhymes, man. Ain't nobody rap like Pun, bro. That's like saying Biggie wrote Jay-Z rhymes. Sometimes when you mess with somebody, you have similar. It's kind of like them, like Rudy and Red, right? We hang out so much and talk so much, you pick up each other lingo. So then imitate what you're around. It doesn't necessarily mean, oh, you jocking it. It's like, that's just what, at one point, everybody sounded the same from New York, which became a problem. People start complaining, right? But from Atlanta, everybody, you know who the fuck that is want to beat, come on. Or you know the ad-lib. That's what it is. So it's like T.I. and Jeezy hang together, but they don't, you can hear the similarities in their music. You can hear.
True.
Okay, so let's dig into this catalog real quick.
All right, let's go.
Man, I'm gonna start the song and we'll just run it through and y'all tell me what you think. Ja Rule. First song, let's get this out the way. What's Love? The Fat Joe, Ja Rule, Ashanti deal. Songs like that, they collaborated together. They had a sequence. We all agree on that?
I can agree to the fact that it was a chart topper, but the song was trash.
It was trash.
It was a chart topper, but the song was trash. You know, based on the premise of this battle is versus one another. So you can say, hey, Ja Rule figured the only way that this track is going to be blessed well enough to do numbers, I got to go get Joe. So he needed Joe.
Okay, so Always on Time.
I don't think that there's a track that Joe has that can stand up against Always on Time.
Nope.
Okay. All right. Yeah, so we agree on that. All right, so now let's move over to an assisted track. Let's run with Jennifer Lopez real quick. I'm Real featuring Ja Rule.
Anything with J-Lo just don't make sense. Nothing in hip hop with J-Lo makes sense.
Okay, so I say in that regard, then granted, Joe's got a track with J Lo just as well. So, which I honestly think that the Joe track with J Lo it withstands. It will beat I'm Real.
What song is it? I don't even remember. Not being funny.
God darn it.
Well, see, they had two together. It was one, Ain't It Funny, which that one would be the Joe song, in my opinion.
But are we giving J-Lo credit for that, or are we gonna say thank Ashanti?
Which is true. That original song was Ashanti.
Okay, yeah.
So yes, J-Lo did a good performance. But it's not her record.
Very true.
I don't even get writer's credit on that song. I would definitely have to check. But I'm being serious. Like, a lot of artists do that, man. A lot of artists will, you can use Beyonce, right? Sure, if you ever look at her music, man, it's like 15 goddamn people on the writer's credit. But nonetheless, it's still her shit. You know what I mean?
Right.
But I don't think J-Lo's ever wrote a record.
Probably not.
But when you think about it on an R&B standpoint, most R&B songs, that's how they're created. You put 15 people in a room, and they begin writing.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with it. I don't think there's nothing wrong with that in R&B because, for instance, if it wasn't for Jermaine Dupri writing that album for Usher, I don't really think Usher would be where he at. If it wasn't for Confessions being so big. And that's his largest, but that was written by JD. He was singing about JD's love life. Like these are facts.
And then the thing I'll take away from that, Jermaine Dupri, if he didn't have Wante Austin as one of his credited songwriters for everything that goes down, So yeah, I feel you on that exactly. Yeah. All right, so let me spin another song. Go ahead.
I say Austin be doing his thing.
Yeah, no doubt. All right, so let's go into Jay-Z real quick. Can I get a fuck you? The first track we heard Ja Rule on a commercial level, because that was on the Rush. Because that was on the Rush Hour 2 soundtrack or Rush Hour 1.
I will cash up any of y'all $50 right now if you can rap his fucking verse.
Can't. But see. But let me give you another tidbit, right? So you're right. So hold on, you're right. Like, can I get a fuck you? Was on that. But you know what else he was supposed to be a part of? He was supposed to be on that Drew Hill joint too. But he bowed out of that and they gave it to Redman. That's when Redman came in and did his shit on that.
So you could fuck was a person.
Which was the biggest hit of that whole soundtrack. And he was like, nah, I don't want that one. Okay. Redman said, okay, cool. I'll step in. All right, I'm good.
All right, so the one thing that we can say a difference in Fat Joe and Ja Rule was it took Fat Joe a long time to get that cosign from Jay-Z.
It took Fat Joe a while just to get the notoriety that he has today. It took him a minute. Because even when he came out, Flo Joe was on the chart. Flo Joe charted, but it was one of those, okay, what's next? Still waiting. What's next? And like I was telling the guys, when he started hooking up with Terror Squads, when they were putting stuff out, that's when you started hearing about him more often and everything.
I think
Fat Joe.
Go ahead.
Fat Joe, he's from Trinity Avenue, South Bronx. So basically, it's one of those. It's like he was KRS-One, but just in the Bronx. Like KRS-One went through all the boroughs, but Fat Joe was hot right in that little cluster right there. And eventually he starts branching out with the more people that he put on his entourage.
Thanks to him going down to Miami. Miami is what saved his career.
Oh, yeah, no doubt,
so
man.
The thing, Fat Joe, I got respect for Fat Joe because he took his respect. There's a difference. They didn't know, if you ever pay attention in hip-hop, they don't talk about Fat Joe at all.
No.
They don't acknowledge him. He don't make the top 10, the top 15, top 50, and nothing, right? So what he did was creatively be like, oh no, I'm the shit. Let me show you how. And now the catalog speaks for itself. But when you really put it in perspective, like let's call a spade a spade, hip hop is black culture, bro. You gotta earn your shit if you outside of it. Like they respect Puerto Ricans, they respect whites, but it's like hip hop is black culture, bro.
True. And one thing you touched on, like I was listening to something by Fat Joe that threw me off guard. Do y'all remember Pride and Joy?
No.
The one where he had like
I know what song you're talking about,
the
but
one where
nobody fucking recalls it.
Maybe it's just because I kind of look like Fat Joe. But anyway, it had Kanye West, Miguel, Roscoe Dash, Busta Rhymes, Mos Def, DJ Khaled, everybody just singing in the background. And it kind of touched on what you said. He really did have to go out there, Del P, and earn people's respect. Like he had to get all these dudes for one track. That's the one thing that I'll say. Like Joe does have star power, because when you look at Lean Back, All the Way Up, them two songs right there branched off different remixes. Like one of them songs, Lean Back, brought back Mace for a minute.
Okay, let me ask you. I had a question. Are we really giving Fat Joe All the Way Up, or can we just say thank Remy?
Let's thank French Montana.
All right, I'm about to go, bro.
I mean, okay, so I can get where you're coming from by saying French Montana because of the simple fact that, yeah, he's a dude that's all in the fucking hook. But the person that bodied the track,
Remy bodied it. Yeah, Remy did.
Remy bodied that track. And if you call it what it truly is, any track that Remy's on with Joe, she fucking bodies.
Wasn't she on Lean Back?
Yeah.
Yeah, she was on Lean Back.
So it's like, okay, you know who he reminds me of? Fat Joe. If y'all ever seen 40-Year-Old Virgin?
Yeah.
Fat Joe would be the virgin in that movie, because the supporting cast is what made the movie great, not the main character.
But that's what I said. He's the greatest assist rapper. Like he's a good feature rapper. Like if you go back to the Lean Back remix that I like,
he'll lead the league in assists if he's a point guard.
Right. He's John Stockton of the rap game.
Yeah.
Okay.
But you got to say, like you said earlier, he commands a certain type of respect, because the one Lean Back version that I listened to, the East Coast Midwest one with Little John, Eminem, Mace, and Remy Martin. When I heard that, I hadn't heard Mace in years, and I was a big Mace fan. Murder Mace. I ain't talking about the pop stuff. Fat Joe did bring him back out though.
But can you let's call it really truly what it is? Can you really call fucking Mace Murder Mace? How do you?
Yeah, I'm about to say. Yeah.
How can you honestly feel comfortable and consciously call this man Murder Mace?
All right, preacher Mace.
The deacon did it.
Yeah, you can't. Come on now, you can't call that dude Murder Mace.
All right,
like, really?
All right, let me recant that. Preacher Mace.
Yeah, man. I mean, Mason Bethel. Yeah, get out of here, man.
All right, and the other thing that I'll say though that helped Fat Joe's career too was that little Fat Joe and Remy Ma album. The little one, because the last time he had a relevant hit, like at least from Virginia, I ain't talking below North Carolina, but that Money Shower with Tay Dolla $ign.
Yeah, that was a high track. But again, you talk about relevancy. You talk about current music. What the hell have you heard from Ja Rule currently that can do anything? Not a damn thing.
Gotta hit Ja Rule with that new number. Who is this?
You can't do like current shit. Ja Rule can't do it. I mean, you've got a better chance at finding Jimmy Hoffa than finding another hit from Ja Rule.
But that's the elephant in the room that I was going to hold for a little bit. But we have to be honest. It was one man that ended Ja Rule's career.
I don't think he did. I think ended his career. I think Ja Rule fucked himself. What I mean by that is when 50 and Rick Ross got into it, Ross just kept being Ross. That's why he stayed successful. It was like, whatever, bro. I'm going to still do me, bro. I don't give a fuck what you talking about. I'm going to rap my shit. I'm going to keep rapping. All Ja Rule had to do was just come out with another collab and just keep going. Throw your diss records, but don't let a nigga come in and get you out your game, bro. That's what happened. He beat himself, bro. I don't feel like 50. The thing with 50 Cent, people have to understand is he came in the era at the right fucking time. There was nobody really doing shit. It's kind of like how Wayne ended up taking over. What nobody else really rapping at one point. It was just Wayne.
Because nobody could compare.
Guy was in jail. Jeezy wasn't really just jumping like that. Like, you got to think about it. Niggas was running the game because it wasn't who else you going to listen to. At that time, Ja Rule held his own. But you can never let a nigga get you out your game, bro. You'll forever lose.
Now, and on top of all that, once 50 was done with him, he said, "Oh, Eminem, come get some. Busta Rhymes, come. Busta Rhymes, I don't beef with nobody." And all of a sudden, he's like, "Yo, Jeffrey, why you call my name?" It's like,
calling as government.
Yeah, like where are we? How did we get here? And like you said, if he just came out and started keep putting on his hits, all this would have just went to the side.
That's exactly what he should have did. But see, the issue at hand is he got. This is why I can say that 50 ended him. 50 exposed him. 50 exposed the fact that without you being able to be a feature artist, you're not relevant. And what happened is basically you got your ass beat by somebody that you couldn't beat. So now you're going to keep trying to go down the line until you can find somebody you can beat. And it determined you couldn't beat nobody. So what'd you do? You went in the hiding until you came out with this fucked up Fire Festival shit that did just like your career. Went nowhere.
Clapback, I'll never forget Clapback. When I heard it, I turned it off.
Ass gas.
As soon as I heard it.
Crap. Ass.
Back. Take it to war, nigga. Get this shit out of my goddamn car. I'm not listening.
Yeah. Ass gas. And I mean, like I said,
should have dropped New York and just left that shit alone. You know why? Both of you niggas are from Queens. Both of you niggas from New York. I just dropped the biggest fucking New York anthem. I wouldn't have said shit after that. Beat this record, nigga.
Then he came out with. Remember, they both, all three of them, and Jadakiss, he played it cool through all this. They came out with the New York little track, and like if that kind of, to me, it fizzled too, because it was kind of like, I like it because, you know, Jada's on it, and Jada, I got a newfound respect for Jada. I never clowned him, but it's something. Jada stayed tough through everything, just like Rick Ross. Jada's career, you know, we'll go into another day, but either way, like, it was just like Ja Rule just disappeared, like disintegrated, like you said, the Fire Fest. Now back to the catalog of music. That's where I think Fat Joe gets in here and destroys him, because every year Fat Joe tried to come out with a single. He had a little Chris Brown joint called Another Round. Stuff that yeah, no, you know, he and he
like
no, but Dal, what JR is saying is, you know, he's still staying relevant. He still has his name being mentioned. He's still getting airplay. So
that nigga podcast funny as shit though.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
That was funny.
And the thing is, to me, it's kind of like Ja Rule kind of scared. Didn't 50 Cent buy one of his shows and nobody showed up to it or something like that to that extent? Didn't he buy all the tickets to one of his shows?
Yo, that shit was hilarious.
And you know, 50 Cent ain't even a rapper anymore. He's like an executive, but not the title let in there. It just seemed like, you know, even Fat Joe, he got a pass later because Eminem still respected him throughout all this. Because Eminem has laid a track down with him and Mary J. Blige, about 2 years ago, right? Am I wrong?
Yeah. If I'm not mistaken about that time frame. I mean, that's the thing. Joe don't really, I'll give it to him. Joe don't fuck with nobody. Joe don't, you know, he's about, hey, I'm trying to take care of my fam and I'm trying to put out music. That's just what it is. I mean, he's putting out music, and so who wouldn't want to work with him? Who wouldn't want to, you know, when it's like one of those times where, hey, you know, if I get on this track with you, it's gonna do numbers. If me and you put a track together, it's gonna do numbers. It makes sense.
Yeah, I get that. So let's do this quick takeaway. Everybody take their time and say this. I'm gonna say Fat Joe's gonna win it, and he's not gonna win it on the basis of doing that stupid crap that Dipset did rapping over their own beats when they can barely rap anymore. Because we seen Jules Santana, he ain't even got his mouth right no more. So he was whatever. They kind of censored Jules Santana on that track, on that old deal. Like, because he had, me and you talked about it, he had tracks. His body and stuff is better than Cameron's all day, and I will say that. And Del P, I know you got something to say about that, but tying this up, Fat Joe will win because of the longevity, and because he's, like I said, he sparks a hit every year or every other year. He has a little summer jam, or like you said earlier, Del P, he's on DJ Khaled doing something. He got the podcast. He's out there. He keeps himself relevant. Ja Rule, last time I heard about him, he had tax problems.
But see, here's the thing, and you have to think about this when you go into the verses. It's nice being relevant now, but if you had a club banger, late 90s, early 2000s, like what we say in our verses, if it goes 12 rounds, you ain't got to win 12 rounds. You just got to win 7. And I get the feeling that Ja Rule has enough tracks to squeak this one out. Just, like I said, just butt moving. That's all he's going to come out and play, because see, I know you're looking at me. Look, man, now, but don't get it wrong. I'm riding with Fat Joe. I am. I'm riding with Fat Joe. But I just get the feeling that they're going to play one of them cheesy-ass club songs that all the women used to sing along to the hook with. And, none of the real dudes can, say the rhymes verbatim out of their head. I get the feeling it's going to be kind of one of those battles when it finally kicks off.
Okay. So, and I respect that. So, you're right. We say in our battles when we're going 12 rounds that you only got to win, you only got to win 7. All right. So, most versus battles go 20. So, realistically, you need to win 11. There are 5 hood tracks. There are 5 gully tracks that Fat Joe can play that are gully, that Ja Rule can't touch. So that's 5 of them right there. So now he's got to come with 6 tracks that he can just compete with.
Terror Squad.
Again, it's going to happen. I as much as I said initially, I was going to rock with Ja Rule because I was thinking of initial hits. Thinking of What's Love, thinking about Where Would I Be Without You and all of that. And, thinking about the Ashanti tracks and thinking Joe can't touch that. But then I go back and I actually dig into it. Joe's got Ashanti tracks. Joe's got tracks with J-Lo. Joe, yeah, you can't. One track that I mentioned, and we talked about this. What in the hell is Ja Rule gonna do if Joe plays a track with him and Big Pun and Nas? He can't do nothing with it. Can't touch it. That's not his lane.
Right. And just JR, you just spoke on it. Once I even told Red, I said, hey, Terror Squad, all those collabos too.
Bet your man can't do it like this.
Yeah, I mean, that the best thing that he could do is, okay, now you pull out collabos from Cats from Murder Inc. But at the end of the day,
but now I just thought about it, you just brought up another point. All right, so like Del said, they're gonna try to collab us to death. How many songs can you say Ja Rule has straight up by himself rocked out to?
Holla, and he realized this shit ain't it, and he went and got a shot. Simple and plain.
Yep, that's what it is.
Veggie, whatever the fuck that is, trash. That's why Rule 336 is his best fucking album. Why? It's full of fucking collab. He went and got Charlie Baltimore. He went.
And that might.
That nigga really didn't collab with a lot of rappers because nobody liked him. He was like that real popular kid that's like, why is he popular? But he's popular.
All right. Welcome to West Virginia and Commonplace. Something that happens in this podcast game, and I'm calling it a game because sometimes things get tossed around, kind of like playing Nintendo. you play a little bit here and there, and then it comes a point that you get a certain dominancy. Like when I used to play Street Fighter, I would get out here and I wasn't that great, get beat up by Barlog, whoever, Blanca, whatever. And then it came a point that I got good and I started a reign. Like I got to a point where I was content with how I was fighting with Chung Li. So nobody could dust me, nobody could do anything to me. And along the way, sometimes when I would play this game, I'd play with friends and they would become collateral damage. They weren't my intended target. I was just always trying to get better. So today with me, I have Red from Code Red, a podcast. We are here to discuss a few things that happens inside your reigns when you're out here doing your podcast. And we are all independent podcasters. That means that we take our time. We take it's 10:21 p.m. on a September 13th. We're taking time out of our schedules of sleep, more than likely, or eating, whatever he's doing. Mine will be eating and sleeping at the same time. We're here to discuss this. So, Red, tell everybody a little bit about your podcast real quick.
Man, again, I am just Red from Code Red, a podcast, one half of Code Red, a podcast, me and my co-host, Coco Cabana.
Coco.
Yeah, shout out to Coco, man. What we do realistically is we've hopped in our own lane. We talk on current event topics that everybody's talking about, but you get it from a male and a female's point of view. A lot of times we disagree. Most of the times we agree on subjects, but you get a raw edge from it. We don't give you politically correct all the time. Definitely not for me. Don't give you the political correct version. We're just gonna give you raw and real and uncut. And then another thing that we tap into is this entertainment world. And we shed a lot of spotlight on some artists that don't get their just due, that are up and coming, that really have that it factor, but they're not getting the plug that they should. And we try to shed light on that. We talk to them, find out about their beginnings, whether it was a humble beginning, whether it was a struggle, and how they got to the point to where they are and what's next for them. And we put a spotlight on that. And that's our thing. That's our lane. That's what we stick to. And hell, we found our niche.
Okay, and then inside that niche, when you're building something, like I said about that little analogy I did with the Street Fighter, there's some collateral damage. Some people get mixed up, become a target of their own devices. We have things like that happen. But at what point did you realize that y'all got to reign over an area, like that y'all have a niche? You are the king and the queen of upcoming entertainment, or we'll just go straight forward with it and say content creators. You are bridging the gap between these people trying to get on a radio station, which is really hard to do now, and making it to a bigger platform. So when did you realize that you had a reign over this?
To be honest, I'm gonna keep it a buck. When you came at me about it, when you came at me with the concept of this new show that you wanted to go, or this new series, The Reigns, because we never looked at it as that way. I never looked at it as we had the reins over it. Now I do see and pay attention to things now, and I see that I don't really see, or I'm not going to say there's nobody else doing what we do. I won't say that, but I see no competition. So I won't say that I was thinking that we had the reins of it, but I know that what we do, we put a lot into, and we put out a very, very good product. We're not, either one of us, just how we're raised and how we're brought, and just what's inside of the both of us, we're not just gonna put out no shit. We're not just gonna put out no mess. So I 100% wholeheartedly, in the words of Frank Lucas, I guarantee it, that hey, we the motherfucking best there is, the best there was, and the best there ever will be. Shout out to
Bret Hart.
Bret
Hart. Oh, all right, I like that one. Now, it's a thing I like to put a spotlight on people, because people don't, we always look through a glass at someone else. We don't ever truly see what we do. And it started a few months ago. I was just listening, and I was getting, like I said, shout out to Podcastagram once again for what he did with the look.
Shout
With
out
the,
Pat, man.
shout out
Big
to
shout
Pat.
out to Pat.
Yeah, all day long.
Pat doesn't get the credit that he deserves. And when he was at a point to where he was getting that, some fuckery came about, and it was real wrong of how that was handled. But shout out to Pat. Pat does amazing things, and he don't ask nobody for shit. Shout out to Pat. That's somebody that I will stamp a fucking page in my passport to get across the island if you need one to get over there, and I'll whoop somebody else about Pat. Shout out to Pat, man.
All right, so with Pat, like he put this lens on everybody, and me from the place that I sit on top of my mountain in West Virginia, not as a superiority thing. I just live on a mountain. I got to see a lot of different people, and I got to interact with different people, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And along the way, your podcast was thrown out there. Me and you discussed how I found out about your podcast, and I started listening. And I will never forget. I was leaving West Virginia. I was hitting New Jersey, and I heard that intro, the one with the lady about the weed and the smoking and everything. So I'm at a rest area in Pennsylvania, and I got a Mitsubishi Outlander. So you know that's got sound in the trunk. So I hear that, and I'm going to the bathroom. I hear this, and you know I really gotta go to the bathroom and stuff. And I hear this, and I gotta let the trunk up. And I'm hearing, you know, you get this hard remix in it, and then I hear y'all come on, and y'all are just talking. It was something about the Karen doing something in the inside the Victoria's Secret or something, and y'all was going back and forth and talking about it. And it was the delivery on top of the intro that got me in harder, because I was like, they really got a craft to what they do. Like it's more than just a bare bone podcast. Because I do a bare bone podcast. There ain't no bells or whistles. The only sound effect you get is if something hits my foot or if this microphone falls. And to put that much craft into what you do, it takes a lot, because anybody can go out here and just throw a little intro on, shuck and jive through things. But when you start getting into the body catalog of what y'all do, and it's not a point of me giving you praise, it's a point of just letting you think from someone outside looking in. You, and we don't try to do comparisons to anybody, but we're gonna all be factual in life. I listened to your podcast against another podcast, and I went back and forth because, you know, I listened to a lot of different ones. So it wasn't like it was a week to week thing that I did. But when I had a free Sunday, because Sunday is my free day to travel and stuff, I'm sitting here, I didn't put 4 hours into your podcast. That's West Virginia to at least the corner of Delaware. So I got to embrace it, and I got to hear the different episodes. And it was a real joy to know that I didn't have to skip over a podcast, because I can even say in my body of work, I got some gems, but it's like 6 of them you can skip over until you find where you fit in. In yours, right, once people start listening, you're tucked in, you get in a trance about this artist that you're promoting, just in that bubble of time that you promote them, and then you go on to something else, or y'all start off with something else. Once you promote that artist, that's the next banger that somebody's getting from Apple Music or whatever, however they listen to music, you know. And that's the thing that intrigued me, because I'm like, look at the production that goes into the episode. Look at how it's promoted, which I looked at that first, and we talked about different things inside of promoting episodes and putting it on Snapchat, putting it here and there. And it seemed like, you know, y'all have a muscle. Y'all have a controlled podcast that you know the elements for, and you took it further. You're getting more listeners, not on anything that I helped you or said anything to you about, but you're getting more listeners because you're able to center the focus on what you're doing, the upcoming artist, on top of your pop culture. Even though you don't want to call it that, I know you don't want to call it, but your pop culture, when you do them two things right there, that's podcast 101. You can't teach that. You can't get someone to memorize that. That is just natural God-given ability if you believe in God. If you don't, whoever you believe in. So, so that gives you a reign over certain areas, because people emulate. That's my favorite word in the podcast industry, is they emulate what another person does. And I started listening to some other podcasts that I didn't listen to before, and I started comparing them. We won't say names because we don't do that, but I noticed there was a lot of jocking going on. And that jocking, when you got it going on, and mind you guys, he's solid. He don't do motions and stuff like I do. I'm moving my hands back and forth, doing all this extra 1992 remember the times dance shit. And anyway, it was purely like, I started listening. I'm like, they are getting this from this man, And it's hard to pay homage to somebody because all of us emulated somebody. Even though even though you got that, you may have heard it from a disc jockey on the radio. Like I heard it from Walt Baby Love growing up, how to do a certain type of interview. And then, like I told you, you always hear me paying homage to 2020. Barbara Walters told me how to interview you and get the questions I want, and get the answers I want out of you. So,
Right.
So here, you're the architect of your reign, you and Coco. What started this podcast? Like we always talk about, oh, tell me a little bit about your podcast, but what started this podcast, and at what episode did you really start realizing that, hey, we got the training wheels off here, we're really going?
Man, to be honest, like I tell everybody, like I wanted to get into this realm, to be where we're at, about to wrap up season 2. It was a dream because I actually said maybe about, we started October of 2020. We started in October of 2020. Prior to that, I had been podcasting with my family, with my cousins. Shout out to the Rivers Post, which I am also a co-host of the Rivers Post podcast. Shout out to Lex and T. We're revamping that, and that's going to be dropping back out too.
Okay.
I've been podcasting with them for a couple months, but even prior to that, I had all the equipment. I had mics. I had audio boxes, headphones, everything. I had everything set up. I had everything, and I was like, I'm gonna start a podcast. And this was before way pre-pandemic. This is like 2018, 2017. I started buying this shit, and I'm like, this is what I'm gonna do. I want to do this because I want to give myself a voice. Now, in my corporate world, people say that I have people eating out of my hand because I can command a room, I can command attention. But lo and behold, I don't feel that I get listened to. So
Okay.
I wanted to do a podcast because it was going to be something for me to get my voice heard, to get my voice out. So fast forward, after doing a couple months with my cousins and, even maintaining both for a while, but fast forward, Coco hits me up. I was like, yo, I've been thinking about doing a podcast. And Coco and I, we go back to middle school.
Okay.
We've known each other for quite some time. We went to middle school together, high school together, and even worked together for quite some time. So we've got a history, we've got a chemistry in that aspect. But she hit me up and she was like, yo, I think you and I would be a good mix to do a podcast. I'm like, okay, well, what do you want to do a podcast about? And at first when she said it, I was kind of like, that really ain't the lane that I want to get in. But now, don't get me wrong, I love entertainment, I love music and all of that stuff. But we were initially just going to talk about hot topics. But then after episode 2, we was like, yo, we on to something. This is actually working. Then we started having guests on. And then I was just like, you know what? What if we get to entertainment? What if we start, who could we get to? Or let's just start reaching out. Let's start shooting our shot. We started DMing folks, and people was just like, some people either didn't respond, some people responded and still didn't show, and some people said yes and stuck with it. And then the growing pains of it all, some of the ones we took some of that shit personal in the beginning. Like, darn, you said you was gonna do this and then you flaked out. Come recording time, you don't show up, you don't respond to no message, you ghost us. We took some of that shit personal, but then at the end of the day, I'm a firm believer when your name is in the right mouth, somebody's gonna be like, dang, I had the opportunity to be on that. And at the end of the day, initially, I was like, nah, that chance ain't gonna come back around. Fuck you, because you said fuck us. But nah, you want to come back around, you can definitely do it. You can definitely do it. Ain't no hate on it. Sometimes you don't get the awareness back then, or you don't take the people right now that should have hopped on Bitcoin when it was $1. That should have hopped on Bitcoin when it was 50 cents, and now it's 40 plus grand. Hey, that's fine. We'll take that. We'll take it all day long. But just to circle back on it, man, we knew about after episode 3 or 4, we really had something going, and here we are getting ready to be 41 episodes into this thing.
All right, and another thing that happens here, like you said, you went into some important lessons you learned here, and I'm glad that you got a thick skin for that, like letting people come back, because I'm so petty. Like if in this business, I'm really tight with it. Everybody, I'm really genuine with. When I come to you, we're gonna talk about this and that. You know, if you get to a certain point with me and we become friends, you got my home phone number, or at least my cell phone. You can call me, text me, talk to me about anything. But and I really respect you on the fact that you don't shun anybody if they shun you. Because if someone shuns me and they don't come correct, like if they don't try to fix it, it ain't gonna get fixed by me, because I'm like you. So many opportunities and doors open up because the person that shunned you put that vibe out and someone else picked that vibe up. And a lot of times the person that picked that vibe up is the person that's y'all gonna gravitate, y'all gonna levitate, and y'all gonna move on from there. Now, what's it like though? Like when you hear your episode, like when you hear it come through the car or you hear it come through your headphones, what is that? What is that feeling that you get when you hear it, that finished product?
It's a proud moment. It's almost like seeing your kid graduate from school, knowing that you've taught them well, knowing that you've instilled everything into them and they've gone out and they've succeeded. So I compare that in that way because I look at what we put forth then to coming up with deciding on what topics we're going to discuss. Or once we book an artist, or once we book a comedian, or once we book a DJ, or once we put, and that's the thing, we have a variety of everything. Once we book a credit counselor, once we book a doctor, once we do and we put everything together, once we get the drawing board set, we put the vision board together and we come up, boom, we're going to talk about this, this, and this. All right, boom. All right, well, we don't want it scripted, but what's your point of view on this subject? All right, boom, my point of view is this. All right, boom, that's all I need to know. Your point of view, here's my point of view. So we're going to come at it raw. Then we go in and we sit down and we listen to the artist. It's so many people that I've seen interviews and I've heard interviews to where you can tell they don't know jack shit about the person that they're interviewing. They don't know anything about their music. They haven't listened to a song first. We will sit and go listen to these songs. We'll sit and listen to their music if we haven't already heard it, and we dissect it, and we go through it, and we come up with genuine questions so that it's not a cookie.
Froze.
Hi, I'm Jay Christian, host of the Cognac Room. The Cognac Room is a weekly, uninhibited, drink-infused podcast about adulting and male and female interactions. We discuss everything from money, sex, breakups. You name it, we're getting into it. I have two lovely co-hosts who join me over a nice glass of cognac, and we have a ball. We laugh and we talk trash. So, pull up a chair, pour up a glass, and let's discuss. You can find us on all streaming platforms.